regular board meeting. So are there any visitors who wish to address the board on any agenda item tonight? Yes, sir.
I'm here with Emergency Management, sir. I'm Mike Fincher.
You're on the agenda, so we'll
You don't want to do the pledge?
let you speak when that time comes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pledge, you want to do the pledge?
That's the first one. Okay, yes.
I'd like to move to adopt the new agenda presented to us with the changes of today.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the corrections made on it. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passes. Approval of the minutes. We had the February 10th, 2020 special session, the February 10th, 2020 regular session, and the February 10th, 2020 executive session. Looking for a motion to approve those.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve those three meeting minutes. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Reports, administrative reports. Mrs. Clayton, you're up first.
During our little break there, I placed in front of you the numbers that I have for special ed. As of today at like 11:30, because any time that number can change, we can have somebody move in, we can have somebody move out. I think the middle school, we had 2 left in December, and those 2 with IEPs are already back with us now. So, like I said, those numbers do fluctuate. Historical numbers for the December 1 count going back to 2014. As of today, we are back to that number that you had during 2014. 171 of those students are actually being served here on campus. We now have 8 at Twin Lakes. We had 2 that just moved in February 11th, I believe, is when we had their move-in conferences. They were students that were here a couple of years ago, so the staff here was familiar with them, but they are being educated at Twin Lakes. And then we have 1 that is still at T.C. Harris. I broke down for each school how many students we have currently, plus the projections during the 2021 school year. We have some numbers going down, and so I wanted to see where those numbers were, and then also look at the staffing that's in those buildings currently, to where we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of those students moving into the 2021 school year. I do want to bring to your attention, though, because I know it looks like maybe we have a lot of staff at the elementary, to where our numbers may be less than the middle school, high school right now, or even projected for 2021. But you will see out to the side, I also have some of the identifications and numbers of students that fit into those categories. The needs of some of our autistic children versus some of the needs of the children that may have a specific learning disability, those needs that need to be met are dramatically different. For example, at the elementary, one teacher has a caseload that is dramatically less than her counterpart, but she also has 5 students that I would consider high needs that we need the staffing for. On the back side, we have the middle school and high school. Currently, the students that have emotional disabilities, we are trying to address those needs, and as of today, we have put in place a new resource room at the high school that is servicing 6 through 12 students. Students that are just struggling in the gen ed classroom, whether sensory issues, whatever the case may be, trying to provide them with an environment that we can meet their needs academically and behaviorally. So, speech pathologist, Mr. Harmon, he is retiring at the end of this school year. He is teacher of record for 26 students, I believe, yes. But we actually service 83 students that have speech impairment or a language impairment, but that's their secondary eligibility, so that's why his caseload, it may look like it's small, but they actually service 83 students. We have 22 students that are receiving OT services and 5 students that are receiving physical therapy services. Those services are being provided by Paragon. They have reached out to us, and I did share with you last week, and I know Mr. Otis has already gone over that contract, so hopefully we can move to approve that contract for the 2021 school year in April.
Any questions from Mrs. Clayton?
We have a resignation for one of your middle school teachers.
Correct.
Do you anticipate any problems in finding qualified candidates for that?
Yes. But I can say that in a gen ed, we're looking for a gen ed teacher right now too, I mean, the education field. But yeah, right now I can't give enough kudos to the administrative team. We have been meeting, a lot lately to try to get through the rest of this school year as far as the needs of our students. We're pulling staff and moving staff, the best we know how right now. But there's definitely gonna be some need for maybe shifting of where some aides are, for next year, but not to do it to where any students are, lacking services. So there may be, so you'll notice I have future staffing needs and there's nothing there right now, but I wanted to at least give you the numbers, and then maybe in April, look at exactly where we fall. But it also, there's a lot of factors that go into it, like I don't know what the master schedule is gonna look like at middle school. So knowing we're getting ready to have those transition conferences, and so I know what the 5th grade students need next year in 6th grade as far as services. But I don't know how that looks at their master schedule until I know that master schedule. So knowing how much personnel I need and the classes that are gonna need to be covered really depend on that. So, things like that, before I say we need to hire these people.
Anything else?
Mr. Reddick?
Shut him down.
All right, just a few things. Last Wednesday, we had our Junior Honor Society induction ceremony. We inducted 17 new students. If you ever get a chance to get out and see that, it's really neat. Wendy Thompson organized the whole thing, but our current members actually ran the entire thing. So they did all the speaking, they called all the names out. It was a really neat night last Wednesday. Last Friday night, we had our band dinner theater. Mr. Dennison did an excellent job of feeding a bunch of folks, some salad bar and potato bar. And the kids did an excellent job. The middle school and high school kids are all together, did an excellent job performing. This Wednesday, down at Canal Park is the annual Wax Museum for our 6th graders. I know I've seen some of you there in the past, but if you get a chance to get out, that starts at 6 o'clock Wednesday night. Currently at the middle school, we have a lot of things going on that, like Mrs. Clayton just spoke to you about. The special ed situation has been interesting here the last few weeks. We think we kind of have a solution for now to get us through the end of the year, but you never know who's going to walk through the door next. So on that end of it, the master schedule, we're still trying to figure out the shared teachers and all that stuff at the middle school. So we've kind of got an idea. We've got an idea of how we are going to try to raise our school letter grade from a C to hopefully an A shortly. But that's going to involve a creative master schedule and some ideas that we've been throwing around there. I also would like to give a shout out to Mrs. Circle for all that she does as the test coordinator. Without her, I don't even know how we would do testing. She has been great in guiding me personally of setting up a schedule. Mrs. Gaynor, our new guidance counselor, is really good at that sort of stuff too. So I think we have a plan. April 20th is when that window for the iLearn opens up. I would also like to give a shout out to the entire staff at the middle school. I mean, with all the stuff that we've been doing with the special ed, moving people around and asking people to, hey, can you take on this guided study, or can you work with this student? They have been absolutely amazing. They step up and do whatever it takes to do the best thing for our students, so. That's all I got for tonight, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you. Mrs. Circle.
Good evening. So, just to kind of echo, and I did hand out this right here, you're getting sloppy seconds tonight, because I tried to get Bryant Mays here to talk. He was the first place winner for this, I believe, so I'm sorry, but, short notice, Bryant couldn't be here. So, but he did a fabulous job, and thank you to the board members who were there. It is an incredible night. And once again, it was the English department and Amy Tonsoni, Courtney Nethercutt. Her whole group came and they served food, and it's a wonderful night. Really, it's one of my favorite nights of the year. To echo with Ms. Clayton on that, when we're talking about the special ed numbers, some of the things that we really need to pay attention to, and it's impacting right now the middle school, high school, but by us creating that behavioral support resource room right now, that pulled a special education teacher in there with a couple students, which means that then, you can look at the numbers, but realize that I've now got self-contained teacher with a couple students all day long, and now we've got still the rest of our population out. So it's deceiving. So we do have to look at what services do our kids need as we're moving forward with those plans. So just to kind of echo what she was saying. Some of the things that we have going on, my favorite is testing. Thank you, Jake, for bringing that up, but we're testing I-STEP right now. For our sophomores, we just finished with the juniors and seniors, and then we'll roll right into the elementary testing. They're all excited and pumped, and the middle school then, right before spring break, the elementary, and then after. So, fall play is this Friday night, 7 o'clock, Anne of Green Gables. It is also having a showing on Sunday at 2, so come on out and support. Our students have been working very hard. They're currently, right now, working for Tech Week. As you can see, our student of the month, I talked about this, I believe, the dinner theater. Excellent job. Do you know how much you raised with that, by chance?
Oh, I haven't counted all the money, but we average,
Too much.
Yeah, just too much to count.
no, we average around 1,500 to pay for awards at the end of the year.
Yeah, so, and that excellent idea. Oh, how many years have you done that?
Oh, golly,
Ever since I've been here.
yeah, we're probably into our 12th year.
Speaking of money, FFA auction was, a couple weeks ago, and they raised $9,200 for scholarships. That money comes right back out for scholarships and scholarship night. Entertainers have been very successful, and they have gotten a gold at state, and then the jazz ensemble was this weekend, and they earned a gold. Dance team, which is led, of course, by Angel, right?
I tried.
They had first this weekend in hip hop, and they're heading off to state at Lafayette Jeff this Saturday. So we're very excited for them. Amy Tonsoni, who was an English teacher and transitioned into our LMC, has been doing an incredible job, so I want to give her some kudos. She did Read Across America Monday and had staff and students reading in the LMC, I believe, till 5 o'clock. And then she's been doing lunch and learn. I don't know if you've heard about this, but she's been having people from the community come in and then just talk to the students. So you come down, eat lunch, and ask questions. So that's been fun. This last time we had Emily Downey and Becky Johnson, and they did a whole activity with personal finance with the kids. A lot of stuff that the kids were talking about, my students were talking about, this is stuff we need to learn about, that, of course, with our state standards, has kind of gone off the wayside. I know when I went to school, we did those type of things, like balancing checkbooks and that, and now if you take accounting, but you're still on the real path. So they were coming out of there going, oh my gosh, I learned a lot. And talk about some of our alumni, and there's more information here, but Max Schimmel was honored. He received recognition for the outstanding stewardship in the turf industry. And it's on the back page, but what's unique about that is he calls, his ag teacher, Doug Walker, to come be there, when he had the recognition, which is pretty cool. It shows the impact that our teachers have on the students. And we have Taylor Nackey, currently an alumni, who is helping out right now with Mr. German's absence. So it's really nice to see our graduates. I'm seeing more and more of our graduates coming back, and I see them frequently, which is great. It again goes to the impact that our staff has on students. And again, as Jake said, they've been doing a great job because we've had a lot of shifts going on this semester, and we gained a lot of students, especially in the sophomore class. So several of my teachers have very large class sizes right now that we weren't expecting. Good problem, but then, same respect, we've got a couple class sizes that are pretty big because we were not expecting to get that many kids that semester. So that's pretty much everything quickly. The winter sports seasons are transitioning out, and now we're starting our spring. So any questions at the high school level or for the students? Anything you want to add?
With the FFA, with them raising their the money and scholarships as well, they're wrapping up their this chapter for the year, and they actually are having their banquet on March 17th, and it's actually open for anyone if you would like to go to that and see what that's about. That'll give you some more knowledge on what they do. They do so much for us. They just did Meals of Hope and all different types of things. They had like a dress up week as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, if you'd like to see more about that. And they're also on March 19th having an Ag Day with the 4th grade, which is like 26 different groups of kids that are involved in FFA, and I think 5 different groups within Delphi are going to have different like ag-related activities that they'll be running with that as well. So good things.
Thank you.
This is Gil.
Good evening. As you've heard a lot about our pre-K, I'm passing out the results of one of our surveys that we had to give our families in basis to receiving some of the grant funds that we've been discussing for this program. This survey was based on satisfaction, relationship, communication, safety, curriculum, education, and program. You'll see that 97% to 100% of our families are fully satisfied with the pre-K program that we offer at the Early Childhood Center. I worked with the teachers, and in order to become a level 3 path to quality, which is now, thanks to the hard work of our teachers, we are now at that level, On My Way pre-K level 3 school. They have formed some goals, and I included that in the packet tonight, which is actually just one page. But anyway, so the cost, the quality, the fact that children are making progress, they're prepared for kindergarten, and relationship with the teachers, they feel comfortable coming into our building, they feel welcomed at all times. The love of children is obvious when the parents are interacting with us, when they're in our building, and they appreciate all that we do from a pre-K perspective. So, I just hope that when you see a pre-K teacher, you congratulate them, because they did have a lot of work behind the scenes to make this possible for our district. We're the only one in Carroll County to be at a level 3 at this time, and I've included putting together a binder and resources and evidence for the state to see. From that perspective, our next step is to fill out an application for the On My Way pre-K, and that I will send you more information from that perspective when we get ready for that. That requires another visit from the state. So we just want to give a shout out to some of the community readers that came and read to us this week. Having the other adults in the school, especially male role models, coming in and reading to our students, they loved it. They gobbled it up. So that was a firefighter, community resource officer, bus driver, Mayor Evans. And then from that, we were able to establish a relationship with the community stakeholder, our Camden Public Library. So they're working with our teachers to get some curriculum resources into our building. So.
Questions?
Yeah, you wanna explain a little bit about Dinosaur Day and,
Oh,
Dr. Seuss?
they had a wonderful dinosaur babies. It's great. And, Dr. Seuss, we had Daniel Tiger in the house visiting with our students, and, like I said, our readers, our community male role models, which we are so appreciative. The activities that happened, they moved around different classrooms. So, our pre-K and kindergarten are really fortunate that they can do those kind of things.
Got one more question for us.
Is today your birthday?
Yes, it
And
is.
I believe the fifth on that interrogation.
Happy birthday.
And I am not 50 for the record.
Your staff just said that.
Mr. Scheidler.
Yes, it is. 27.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Here, Chris.
You do.
Do it
Hey,
right.
just bring it in here so she can see it.
I gotta keep one for myself, and then Nick, I'll give you one. I wanna thank Sciotes, the local chapter of Sciotes. They donated $1,500 to help us to really kick off and celebrate our, last week when we did Read Across America. And again, Read Across America, yes, it's a national, international, it's kind of a whole bunch of events that centered around Dr. Seuss's birthday. But I think the thing that makes this the best is the fact that staff members have said, let's get together a month and a half out. And they started to use the technology, the tools, Google Docs, to share some ideas and some links and stuff like that. So kudos to the teachers. They really helped to carry this and to pull it off. Sciotes, it was really nice when a patron of the community said, hey, we'd like to partner with you. How would this work? And we're like, oh, that is great. And the best part is we didn't have to just get the discount books from Scholastic. We actually got really nice books. And probably some of the best things is when teachers took pictures and sent them to me and said, here's a reluctant reader. I can't get him to close that book. And that's what we want. That we're all one great significant book relationship from turning that corner. But anyway, I want to thank Sciotes. I want to thank Ms. Hansel, our art teacher. Again, she integrated herself into it. Kids had a contest to create bookmarks, and then every kid got a bookmark that was created, or I should say, professionally created at our print shop. On the back page, again, a lot of activities associated with Read Across America. Spirit Days, What a Character, Cat in the Hat Day, Fox in the Socks Day, all the places you'll go. Cozy Up with a Good Book. We had buddy reading going on. Again, we do that a lot. Maybe like a first grader and a fifth grader. Oh my gosh, just to see them interact is incredible. Guest readers, again, we have people from outside the building come in the building and read to the classes. Our cafeteria got involved, special themed food, green eggs, ham, so forth. Breakfast and books, oh my gosh, that first day I think we did that. A lot of biscuits and gravy brought into the classrooms, and it was great. We had a parade. You know what, I think one of the neatest things was actually our fifth graders going back to Camden. That whole idea, just to see the looks on the faces, to hear some of the kids, I used to go to school there. You know, they're like, oh. So that was kind of cool, and for the kindergartners to look up and see the fifth graders. Obviously, free books for all. We even have bonus books, bookmark challenge, publishing, so much more. I do want to give a shout out to grades 3 to 5 teachers. Again, we had to reschedule, and I learned after I rescheduled it, I fell right on freshman orientation. Man, you try to get everything right, but no fault of any particular group. That you already kind of threw us for a loop on that Thursday, but we turned around right away and we got it scheduled. And we had parents from grades 3, 4, and 5 came in, met with teachers. The teachers went over I-Learn, probably the most in-depth that we've done to actually illustrate for our parents what this assessment entails and involves. The comment, what I got a kick out of was, first of all, how the adults thought, oh my gosh, are you serious? Yes, this is what the state wants to use to measure our schools, but we know that there's going to be a ripple effect at the Ball Diamonds. They're going to be talking about that. What are you thinking about that? But we gave some tips and techniques, you know, things that we expect of our students and things that they should be doing to be the most successful. So kudos to teachers in grades 3, 4, and 5 that came back or remained at school that night to have a kind of a conversation with parents at their grade school.
Questions?
Any questions?
I have a question, this kind of
Yes, sir.
for all of our administrators. Can each of you tell me exactly what extra steps we're taking as far as keeping our building clean from germs and stuff like that? Any extra
Why, as a matter of fact, yes, I can. So there's been a lot of conversations over the last week to 10 days. We sent out some information to all of our parents, our patrons, we're actually getting a couple of emails here and there. You know, when we look at, and again, it is kind of odd, because, you know, the high schools have higher attendance issues than we have. We're just more cognizant, you know, even Kay said she's gonna start going into classrooms and doing hand washing lessons again, talking about that. So we are educating our parents, again, a lot of this stuff is coming off of.
But are janitors taking more?
Oh,
cleaning
absolutely,
steps
yes,
as
we met
well?
with the janitors, I think we also talked with the school bus drivers recently, some of the steps that they can take. So we're trying to minimize, those problems that could exist. Obviously, it's interesting when you watch the media, you just see the places in the state and the country start to fill in. It's probably a matter of time, I hate to say it, it's a matter of time. We've been very impressed, because when we've talked about attendance rates, at some of the surrounding schools, I think we have fared better, and I think a huge part of that is because of our, custodial staff. I think they have hit it, and hit it often, and hit it again, and stuff like that. And Kay's been on top of it, I know she's met with Mr. Ronk, and talked to Mr. Ronk, with health officials here in Carroll County and the surrounding areas. It's definitely picking up a little more steam, it seems, with, being cognizant of everything. Yeah, so I don't know if that is exactly what you're looking for, but those are the steps we're taking. Trying to keep our public educated, and as parents have questions, try to put their minds at ease too. Because what we can't control is people going outside of our school district, and that's, so we can only try to educate, just like everybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Speedback.
And to follow up on that, after talking to Mr. Ron, met with all of health people and our nurses, I've instructed our buses, we've got more Lysol coming. We may get some monofluids, a little better, product as far as antiseptic and cleaning. But yeah, drivers are wiping down the tops of the seats, the most commonly touched areas. The students get on and off the buses, the rails, and all of that. So we have moved forward with that. As far as buildings and facilities, there were some questions. The electricians and the lighting company got the softball field lights up and going, and Mr. Sims, myself, and Caitlin, all are administrators, so anytime we need to, I can stand here right now and turn the lights on for you if you want to see them. Mr. Sims and I both questioned if they're aligned properly, but it's new, it's LED, we don't have any experience with that. The electrician and the representative from the company said they were. When I turned them on, they seemed to light up the whole area very, very well.
It looks funny, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it glows. It looks like you're laying in a.
Well, I mean, the light structures, they look like they're
Yes, yeah.
facing down more so.
Yeah, they look like they're facing down, but I think if they were up higher, we would probably be blinding the neighbors and be getting all kinds of bad calls. As far as the bus inspection goes, there was some concern from some of the board members and patrons. It does look bad when you look at the DOT website. They've got a pie chart. And it basically looks like half of our buses failed, which they did not. At the end of 2 days of inspection, we had one bus that didn't pass, and we knew it wasn't going to because it needed a new fuel tank, and we were waiting on parts. We just had to wait on that. But what happens is, so everybody understands, in 30 days, the pie chart will look just like I just told you it is. That after 2 days, everything but one bus passed. But they will reject, they don't put it out of service, they'll reject a bus if you've got a hole in the seat. Now, the mechanic can turn around and fix that hole, and it passes that same day or the next day. So that's why it looks as it is, and I went and looked at some of the surrounding schools to kind of give you an idea. Tippecanoe schools, now granted, they have far more buses, a lot more buses than we have, but they had 35 buses in that same category of just rejected, not put out of service. So it's the way Nate King, the state trooper, has to put it into the system, and again, in 30 days, you can go back and look at that pie chart, and it will look proper. So,
Any other questions about facilities and or?
Did you wanna say anything about the electric bus?
Other than it's being built, yeah, I mean, everything looks to be on track. We haven't discussed it much because we're kinda holding off to see if Duke was gonna be able to get their approval, from the regulatory commission down there, utility commission. They'll know that in June. And the companies told us, any of the companies we talked to about putting in the charging unit, said that they can do that within 4 to 5 months, and we have 6 months after that decision's made to decide, basically, if we get the Duke money, it'd be nice to put in the more expensive charger will charge more than one bus. But if we don't get the Duke money, we'll go with the less expensive option and just be able to charge the one bus. That's $16,000 versus $42,000. So it's a big difference. But everything's moving forward on that bus, and we should get it into November, middle of December.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Routine matters, Mr. Ron.
Do I get to do my report?
Oh, yes, sorry, I jumped you there. Superintendent report.
I'll be quick. It was interesting, Mr. Meyer, you asked about cleaning. One sad thing right now is you can't buy hand sanitizer or wipes, and so virtually anywhere. So that is very concerning. I think we had our first school closure in Indiana, and so we're gonna be addressing with teachers and staff what we're gonna do if we have a long-term situation with e-learning and how best to manage that. But Kay Ross has done a very good job, and I would commend her, and we've actually had schools contact us to ask us how we're keeping our attendance rates up versus other schools, because some have had to close because of the flu. And now, having said that, Mrs. Circle, you had 40 students today?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're the last ones to fall.
All right, maybe I shouldn't brag too much, but anyway. But we're concerned about it. We're getting updates from CDC and from Department of Education, almost, I should say daily, it almost seems like it's hourly. Yes. But we're getting a lot of information. Our audit is done, that the State Board of Accounts did, and we had to create an action plan to address the issues that were identified in 2018 that were still present in 2019, and I worked with Mrs. Miller to do that, and I think they were satisfied, and I think it's safe to say we were already doing those things anyway, because we knew it was a better practice than what perhaps had been done. That is not public yet, so that won't be released until April, the actual audit itself. Our guaranteed energy report, we're gonna meet Thursday at 11 o'clock. If any board member or anybody else is interested, Performance Services will be coming to report on that. We discussed class sizes pre-K tonight, and so that's something that's on everybody's mind. Special ed costs, I will tell the community that when we came out of the special ed cooperative, we weren't prepared to, a corporation was not prepared to perhaps deal with the challenges they faced, and the staff and Mrs. Clayton are doing a great job, but we are going to have to spend some money to take care of some of the needs that have not been met. So that process is going on. And I would just like to say, this is the first time I've ever been exposed to this, I believe, and I was just tremendously impressed with the young people that were there, and I really appreciate that chance to participate.
Thank you. Now we'll go to routine matters, Mr. Long.
All right. Claims and payroll, approval of monthly financial reports. Mrs. Miller, do you have anything that you would like to point out to the board that is there?
Just on the fund report, we have some negatives there, and that's mostly grants, I believe. And we're working to make sure that we have the grants set up properly so we can start asking for reimbursements to get that taken care of. We have all of the clearing accounts straightened out now, so we think we're pretty much to where we can be for the balancing, and State Board of Accounts had told us that if we're off the same amount for, I believe it's 3 months, then we need to come to the board then and ask if we can just ask for an adjustment and move forward. And we're on our 2nd month, so.
If you would take a look at your fund report, in your financial packet, it's the one that shows the balance in the education fund, debt service, and so on. A few things I'd like to point out. There's about $280,000 in the education fund. That is down because we had a prepaid January, and so we had to pay an extra payroll out of that. We get our funds in the middle of the month, so I'm not sure if it's gonna be this Friday or Monday that we'll get our next payment from the state, and that's $700,000. So that fund will certainly look better at the end of March than it does in this. The debt service retirement will not change, nor we won't get any more funding for operations until June. So that money is going to dwindle, but it certainly looks better than it did last year. And there's still some money left in that 2020 bond that we left in there for expenses. But I just wanted to point out those specific things to you and tell you that those are gonna be changing. And the nice bottom line is that there's $2.25 million in the fund.
Go ahead and run through all these, do this one motion.
Well, all right, resignations, Trista Haas, Christine Lang, Andy Venters, and we spoke to that because that is really caused some disruption, and they did a great job of shifting people around. We are asking you to approve of employment for Ben Gleason, Katharina Daffrey, I'm not sure how her
I believe so.
last name, Amy Killian, and Shaylin Martin. ECAs to be approved at this time is Wendy Thompson, Leslie Pickering, John Titus, Chantel Meyer, Jake Johns, Tim Pickering, Jim Hickson, Jared Hooper, and Mark Hosier. That's a new, we got a resignation, and that's a new position. And then, do you wanna go ahead and include the others? The overseas trip that was planned for this spring break is being tentatively rescheduled for fall break. There's not a specific date yet, I believe, but that obviously is a result of the coronavirus and travel overseas. Project Lead the Way is a trip to Kings Island on May 15th, and this last one that was added was a little bit of a confused item that started earlier and before the approval was sought, but it's a National Honor Society fundraiser, and it's to raise money for their scholarships and national dues.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the routine matters?
I'll move we approve the routine matters, A through D is presented, A consent items, B resignation, C employment recommendation, D field trips, and fundraising.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any or all of those items?
On that field trip, when will we have to make a decision as far as whether they're gonna be able to go overseas or?
It's gonna be, it's, things are gonna be fluid, so they're, I don't know how much leeway they have. Have you had any discussion with Mr. Circle?
They're actually being really nice with the leeway, if they, for obvious reasons. So if it's still under an issue during fall break, I think we can push back to next year's spring break as well. So we're not losing any money. There's not current seniors in that mix, so they're not missing out on the trip. So that's our plan as of now.
I just wonder if there was any way to continue it, like skip around Italy possibly, or.
there's, right now with the travel warnings that are everywhere, and honestly, my biggest fear, as I talk to the sponsor, is they're being very particular about who is traveling as well. So my thought is, if I had a child with maybe just a sinus infection and they're running a fever, they're not gonna let them on that plane. So then I'm gonna have this child who can't come back. So, I mean, there's just a lot of variables that made me very nervous, cause they're checking all passengers now. So, yeah, I thought it was better being safe, so.
And we've already approved the trip though.
Yes, we did approve it a while back.
Okay.
I think it was like a year ago, actually, cause this was a couple years in planning.
What is the actual fundraiser for the Honor Society?
Well, I know. Okay, that was something that I didn't even know that we had a new sponsor, so that was a little communication gap, and I didn't even know about it until Mr. Ronk forwarded it to me. But we had done this before with the previous sponsor, so he just stepped in and did it. And all of that money goes directly into scholarships, and also there's stoles and things. So the National Honor Society gives 4 scholarships during scholarship night. So the money goes directly back into the program. But yes, I apologize.
But what is it they're doing for a fundraiser?
Oh, they send out, because we've had a lot of pushback on, no one wants us to just sell stuff that you pay part of for the product that you really may not want. So they send out an email and they say, hey, do you want to donate money? And so each of the kids, I believe, I asked my daughter, they sent out 5 emails asking for money.
It's 20.
Is it 20?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
a
well,
donation.
I can see how great my daughter is at relaying information. So they're
You
supposed
weren't
to.
one of the 20.
No, but they're supposed to send out to family and friends. So Mr. Rock he made me laugh, because when he got it, he goes, so am I a family or am I a friend of this child? So,
After we approve it, I may donate.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on these routine matters? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve routine matters A through D. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 6, new business. Summer school dates and course approval. Mr. Wrong.
The dates for summer school are May 26th through June 22nd. I didn't get that on there, but that's the date that all summer school will be. And each of the schools has a list of courses. CES is simply grades 1 through 5. The middle school is language arts, math, and project lead the way for grades 5 through 8. And then the high school are the same courses I believe you traditionally had. And that's typically language arts, math, and some electives like physical, PE and health, and then some others. So I would like for you to go ahead and approve those, and we then need to send that information into the state.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the summer school dates and courses. Any discussion on that?
Staffing will be determined as we get,
Yeah, we need a minimum of 15 students, and I think, unfortunately, last year, we may have had some courses that did not meet that minimum, but they will need to meet that this year. And typically then, the funding will almost pay for all the expense of summer school.
Any other questions? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the summer school dates and courses. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. B, network refresh, Mr. Gear.
Thank you. Okay, good evening. I think I have 2 sections under the network refresh. First one, did you guys get a motion or a recommendation to renew the annual renewal for unit trains?
It was in the electronic terminal. I received it.
Okay. Okay, yeah, it's just our annual support renewal is all it is. We've been using it for 8 or 9 years, we should, I think 2 years ago, we updated the software, the hardware, and just came to the renewal every year from now. So that's part of this, I hope that made it in the package, the packet.
You need an approval of that, is that?
Yeah, is that what's
The dollar amount.
You need that separate, or?
It's
Well,
separate from the refresh, because the refresh is everything, this is just our backup system,